Hey y'all.
What's up?
Welcome back.
To another episode of Cocktails and Conversations.
Red Cup Chronicles.
Yours truly. I don't even think I need an introduction anymore.
Oh Lord.
But Chris.
Plus Kiya.
Let's get started. I mean, it's just so much to indulge in. So much has happened this month. And the craziest thing is it's Black History Month. And we get 28 days on a leap year 29. So we should be grateful for that.
Right.
We should be very happy.
A lot to talk about.
Yeah. So we was having a brief conversation, and I think Kiya, you're better at introducing the topic, because this was a heated conversation in regards to, how black people feel towards, I guess, their freedoms or their supposed freedom. Also, what they're entitled to.
Okay. So we all know the story of, being enslaved. And I happened to come across something where they were talking about the history of blacks, African Americans, and within that, they started to talk about how black people feel. They constantly bring up the fact that, oh, woe is me, I didn't get X, Y, and Z because, my ancestors was enslaved and I wasn't allowed to get money and I wasn't allowed to get this and I didn't have the opportunities that white Americans have. And, they didn't get into it, but someone had brought it up within their conversation. And so, I had mentioned it to Chris not too long ago, like, I think that this would be a great topic. And as always, Chris comes and he picks the topics, and so I'm guessing that this is a topic that he wants to discuss. So based on what I just said, how do you feel? Do you feel like blacks use that often, or what's your take on it?
So I have to take deep breaths because, I get heat. This is how I feel about it. I believe that I don't believe black people use it too much as a crutch, or because at the end of the day, most cultures who've either been enslaved or had their rights taken from them, have been placed in internment camps, they've gotten some form of compensation. Even if we want to going on 70 years ago with the Holocaust, that group of people received benefits for their trauma. Not to say that's going to repair the trauma, but it's a step to put them, to equally yoke them economically.
Right, because there's a lot of programs for Jewish people, and a lot of organizations were started off of that backbone of the concept of, giving Jewish people the opportunity to uplift themselves. And the most of them organizations have opened up, and they provide services to everyone, but that's what it was started.
Right. And
if you think about it, the way that it sounds like you're about to say or go into, we don't have that.
Exactly.
Okay.
We don't have any of that. And I look at it like this. I feel like there's been a revisionist history when it comes down to black people. And I say black people because they always want to bunch us with people of color. We are black people. That's our thing. Our ancestors are 95% responsible for this great economy that's known as the United States of America.
Okay.
They are. They did it because cotton was king. So anything that was coming out, most things that were coming out of the United States pre-industry, which, you're talking about like the iron work and everything, was cotton.
Okay.
So if cotton was an international product that was being distributed across the world from the Americas, and it helped generate the economy that is the United States today, which is only one facet of cotton, I'm just using it as an example, we should be compensated. And I say this,
didn't we get 40 acres in a mule?
We didn't get any of that. This is what happened. Something called Reconstruction happened. All right? So, brief history. When William T. Sherman, right, the general, right, came down there into the South, right? He said, listen, because you didn't just want the slaves just roaming, the freedmen at this point. You didn't want the former enslaved running about. So they said, listen, the land that the basic traders, which was the Confederacy, they were the traders, that land, because they were traders, it was stripped from them, was going to go to the former slaves, right?
Right.
Okay? So then that was the 40 acres and a mule. It was a lot of land down there for them to receive that, okay? And that was so they can create their own economy to bolster the new joined union, okay? What happens is the president after Lincoln, which was Andrew Johnson, 17th president, he institutes Reconstruction. So what they do is they take all the Union troops out of the South, right? And basically left the formerly enslaved to fend for themselves. Then they start instituting these black codes, which didn't allow them to receive their 40 acres and a mule, or even make enough money to purchase the land. And then they allowed the traders, who were the Confederacy, because they were traders of the United States, to now go back into the South and get that land back.
So now this is my question though. Based on everything that you're saying, do you feel that when a black person says, I wasn't given the opportunity and that's why I'm where I'm at today and this is why this is what it is, do you feel that them bringing that up, that, you know, I wasn't given those opportunities, is a fair assessment to say?
I think it's fair on certain levels.
Okay.
Because I do believe that if we want to go into recent times, which I want to say maybe the last 30 years, there may be more opportunity allotted to us. However, that's a 30-year window in comparison to maybe a 400-plus year window of not being able to. Because even after slavery, you still have Reconstruction. After Reconstruction, you had Jim Crow. You get what I'm saying? So it never stopped. And when did they pass the Civil Rights Bill? 1965.
Yeah.
So and even then, you still having problems until these things were, you know, because you got to go through states' rights.
I mean, but we still have issues now.
We do.
I mean,
we do.
Because I know you was like, you said you feel like we revisiting it. That's something that you was going into at the beginning. Yeah. And so, you know, I wasn't here for slavery. I know about it. I've heard about it. You know, thank God I wasn't, you know, living at that time. I don't think I would have made it. But then again, I don't know because I didn't have to live that, right? So I can't say. But I do think that there is a lot of, I mean, it's not slavery going on, but I do think that there is a lot of still racism going on. And you think in 2021, like, how could this still exist, right? But it does. And it's sad that it does. I do think that, in a sense, for my elders, I can have the argument that, yeah, they were not given an opportunity. So because they weren't given an opportunity, they wasn't given an opportunity to build something and then pass it along to my generation and so forth, right? But when I hear someone who's in their 20s and their 30s say, oh, I wasn't given an opportunity, to me that's bullshit. Because you are, right, like as you said, we have been given more opportunities. We have been given chances to be more successful, wealthy. If you look at the culture of the United States in itself, most of the culture is black culture, right? Things that happen, hip hop on the TV, the commercials. Mary J. Blige had a whole Burger King hip hop commercial.
Right. This is how I
you
feel
know, things are different now.
They're different, but they're not different. Like I do agree that a lot of what we consider pop culture is black culture,
right?
But yet, black people are not the benefactors of their culture.
You're right.
You know, so
you're right.
We don't benefit the way we should. Like, for example, we just learning now. Like, we were all growing up, we just love these music videos, and we like, yo, he's got money, or she got money. We're just recently learning that they had no money. They were renting those vehicles for the video. All the stuff was paid for by the record company. They were like basically extorting these people with.
But you know, it wasn't only white record companies doing that.
No. I'm not saying white. No.
Okay.
No, it's black. But they were. I'm not saying white. What I'm saying, these record labels, whether they were run by whites or blacks, were extorting black culture.
Right.
So the blacks still were not benefiting.
You're absolutely correct.
So, and I'm also looking at it, if we're going to go back in the past, I do agree, like I said, there are more opportunities allotted to us within like the past 20, 30, maybe even 40 years. Because that's a bit of a stretch. But there's a long period of time that we were economically in the
Suppressed?
shits. Yeah, of course. So even for example, so I also feel like this. It wasn't like black people were always making an excuse. Black people had their own businesses. They had the Black Wall Streets, right? They had the Seneca villages, like which is now Central Park. But the whites would come burn the shit down. And then there would be no repercussion from the U.S. government. Because usually when things go down, they send in the federal troops. Blacks didn't even have that. These are citizens of the country. They wouldn't even send the federal troops in to help these people who are basically helping the economy with their businesses as well.
Right.
So what I'm saying is, when we have done things, it's been suppressed. And then we had to wait how many years into the 1960s just to be able to like legally vote. Just, you know what I'm saying? Like stuff like that. Just to have not even black rights, but civil rights. Civil rights is human rights. So,
and even then, it was all men are created equal. They didn't involve women either.
Exactly.
And that's a whole nother, right? Like if you want to get into it, you not only have black Americans, but now you have black American women,
right?
Who are, I mean, we hear a lot about it, especially now, where in textbooks it's stated how black women handle pain differently than other women, and I'm like, what? I can't even believe that was in that's in medical textbook. Well, like, what kind of jargon
but
is
that? But that's what I'm saying. That comes from the whole slavery concept. Because who did they experiment all the childbearing tools and OBGYN tools? The slaves. They experimented on them. You know, even now, if you go into a museum, I think it's in England, of the Hottentot Venus, right? Sarah Bartman.
Mm-hmm.
They took her body. And what they do, they what is it? What you call it? Autopsy?
Yeah.
They took a human being just so they could examine the shape of her body and her organs. So this is what we were used for. So I'm saying that to say, when it comes down to people use it as an excuse, I don't think it's an excuse, but I think it's a debt that needs to be paid.
Okay.
Because even like you said, with all the medical books, that was us in there. We should be paid. Or whatever way, whether through land or compensated through money for our troubles and helping grow this country.
So should our youngins still be fighting for the things that we should have been paid for?
Of course, because we're not.
Or is that still our ancestors' issue?
No, it's all of our issue because at the end of the day, we're not going to be here forever.
Right.
So when it's all said and done, they should get what's owed to them. Like the Jews, they say never forget. We should be the same way. Never forget. You never forget what they did because then they can act like it never happened. I'll give you an example. This summer, the whole George Floyd thing went down, right? And they had Black Lives Matter, these people, blah, blah, blah.
Don't go there with
yeah,
that money.
but check this out. They had all of this money, and I really want to know where this money went. All of this money from all of these corporations who were feeling bad for black people for those 2-3 months, right? They were sending out all this money to Black Lives Matter and all these other organizations that I've never heard of in my lifetime. But yet and still, when did the reparations conversation come up? So these people are now saying, listen, they've actually admitted for once, we did you wrong. Mm-hmm. They've never admitted that in the history of America. And they still didn't give up reparations. So if they've admittedly said how we've treated you, how we've done you, you have been the creator of this economy through free labor, but yet and still, we still haven't paid you. The same thing with the presidential election. There were people waiting online, like I say again, for Master Biden. And he said, I'm not even thinking reparations, man. And he's a benefactor of our ancestors' labor. So I believe that the young people are on the right track. Not that they should make excuses, but they should never forget. They should continue to fight for what's theirs. William T. Sherman went down the South and said, I'm giving 40 acres and a mule. That was an edict from President Lincoln. It's yours. It's yours.
Well, yeah, all of those, like in Harlem, all of those townhouses and everything, they supposed to be given to black Americans. And right now, the problem is a lot of places in Brooklyn, Harlem are being gentrified. Mm. And so when I pose the questions, I'm not posing it because this is my opinion. I'm posing a question because I want to hear what y'all thinking. I want to know what's on Chris's mind. I want to know how he feels about the question that's being brought up. Mm-hmm. This is not my opinion. I'm asking because I want to know. I stated that I feel like sometimes they do continuously say, oh, but I wasn't given this, I wasn't given that, I wasn't given this. You know, sometimes you do have to work hard for what you want. But do I think that we are owed something? Of course I do. Right? Absolutely. But I don't want for anyone to ever, that be the reason why you don't do anything. That be your excuses as to why things are not being done or why you're not getting things done. Because you're talking about something that your great-grandfather went through that you have no idea because you didn't go through, but you want to use as an excuse to say, well, this is why I'm not in college. Right? So I don't want that to be the basis of what they're saying. Do I think they should still fight for it? Yes. Fight until you get it. I don't care if it's another 200 years. Fight for it until you can get it. And you brought up the Black Lives Matter. You know, it wasn't even a black person who created this, right? They didn't even found this organization. Where's the money going? Who is it helping? I still want to know, and I still don't have any answers. So I ain't donate not a drop of a dime to the Black Lives Matter movement. I think the movement in itself, Black Lives Matter, yes, it's important that we Black Lives Matter, but it was so much behind the Black Lives Matter movement.
Yeah, it's so much behind. I don't even like that terminology. I'm gonna be honest with you. And I know everyone's not going to agree with this, but to me, it's almost like I'm begging for my life to matter. Like Black Lives Matter. I don't know. Because to me, this is how I feel. I feel like this. And many people may not agree with this, but our people have been kicking ass for centuries. And I don't have to beg to nobody that my life fucking matters.
No, I understand that. I think that it came from a place of, it's like, and it's something that I had posted on my own personal social media page. So you know when they had the riot of the Capitol not too long ago, right? Yeah. And the people was just like walking in there. Nobody was, you know, shooting at them or batoning them. Nobody was trying to tase them. You know, none of that was happening. And, you know, like black people was talking about it and saying, oh, but we the bad guys. And I think that what I had said was something like, we're not asking you to shoot at them, right? To shoot at white people or to shoot at others. What we're asking you to do is to respect us like you respect them and not shoot us and not come at us with batons and want to automatically assume that we being angry and crazy. And because if you watched a lot of the protesting that was happening, that was not happening. Black people was not fighting and shooting and carrying on and wanting to jump on somebody and wanting to storm a place. It was peacefully done where they were standing outside and just speaking their truths and their feelings and their opinions. So the whole Black Lives Matter movement, I think that it started from a good place. It started from a place of we do matter, right? And we need for y'all to see that. And now y'all have seen it. But then it went so left because, like you said, you know, people started to feel like I'm begging for you to care about me like I'm a human being. Yeah. And then you started having Blue Lives Matter, which I didn't understand where that... What?
I'm not gonna lie. I do understand. I'm not even gonna lie. I do understand where that's coming from. And the reason I say that is because I like movements to be organic. Okay. To be honest, I don't think the Black Lives Matter movement was organic. And to me, I say that because what it was doing is it really wasn't fighting for anything. Because I don't know what has been passed since that movement started.
You mean a bill? No
bill. Okay. I don't know. And that's how things happen in America. That's one point. Also, too, even if, and I'm just putting myself in the mind of another race.
I don't mean to cut you off, but I don't think it was a bill, but isn't how police officers are trained now done differently?
Because of what?
Because of the whole Floyd thing?
No, I don't know.
I'm asking.
No, I'm not saying it. No, I'm not saying it towards you. I'm just saying that they'll put that out there on television.
But you think that's not
what's
BS?
Happening. It's BS because at the end of the day, this was said a long time ago. They shouldn't be putting anyone in the chokehold, black, white, and indifferent. Okay. So that's not towards you, but it's just the propaganda that they make it look like these things are changing and nothing is changing. Okay. They almost selling, oh, we did this so you could just like back up, say, oh, we. So back to what I was saying. So I get where I now because then you have politicians. That's where we get a misunderstanding. Not you, but us as people. They start getting into these movements. Like this summer when all of the the Democratic senators or whatever got in kente cloth and got on a knee and put their fist in the air in unity for black people. But yet your bills and laws don't benefit us. So I see how other races can look at it like, wait a minute, we pay taxes too. They may or may not agree with reparations, but what is the fact that only your life matters? And this comes from black men. I'm just saying, that's what it would say if you're watching the propaganda. Well, why does just your black life matter? So you know what? We're human beings too. So we shouldn't be attacked. So blue lives matter. Then the other people can say, well, white lives matter. Then the other people can say, well, brown lives matter. So now what you're doing is you're putting race to your life matter rather than putting your race at the forefront of economic change.
I hear you. Right? But again, the whole purpose of the Black Lives Movement was to identify that there's still an issue, right? And that because what was the man, Rodney King, if I'm not mistaken, the man that was beaten and it was like the riots and all that,
Rodney King,
right? And so all of that was because how they were taught, how they were trained to address black people, right? So this is still coming because that's what happened. That's what just happened with the I Can't Breathe, right? So,
but even that, go ahead. Even I didn't.
But the whole thing is like it's still happening, and this shouldn't still be happening.
I totally
so
agree.
We have to show like y'all not addressing how y'all doing things the right way, and that's why Black Lives Matter. So we do matter. So why are you treating us different? Why are we being separated? Why?
I get that.
Why when you address us, it's differently than when you address someone else?
So put yourself in their shoes, right?
That white privilege does exist.
No, of course it does. But say, put yourself in their shoes. Why should they do any of that for you?
What you mean, why? Because we're human.
Okay, they don't see you as such. So
then that's why the whole movement came about. We are important.
But I'm getting to a point. I agree. I'm a black man. I love my people. I'm going in their shoes. Why should they see us like that? Now, because all they do is the same shit over and over again. They kill your people. They whip your ass on camera. They acquit them. And they go back to doing the same shit all over again, right? So you'll continue to riot, continue to protest, continue to grandstand, and then the same thing happens. Now, I'm a solution-based thinker. If we would economically, right? Because don't forget, we don't really affect each other's economy like we should, all right? Even though we create most of the money, we spend a lot of it, but we don't really impact other people's economy. In that way where we say if you don't do this for us, we don't give out money. You don't get our money. And anything that I've learned in America, that money controls everything. If you want bills passed, put your money up. You want laws passed, put your money up. You want, like even the Jews in their community have their own police because they put their money up, or they get their money from you, right? So what I'm saying is, we're not talking economics.
We're boycotting the wrong way.
I'm not saying it's the wrong way. It's not an effective way.
Okay, so I'm gonna take a page out of Dave Chappelle. Mm-hmm. So he came on. He had a comedy special, and it kind of turned into seriousness in the midst of his special. He asked everyone to boycott HBO because he said he did Comedy Central. I think that's what his show was originally on. What was the name of the show? Dave Chappelle show.
Yeah, the Chappelle show.
Okay, he did the show. And he was supposed to be allotted a certain whatever, and he didn't get those benefits. He didn't reap those benefits. They are, and he's saying he should have. So he asked everyone to boycott. He said, "I need for y'all to boycott because I don't want the show on the air no more." He said he has a good relationship rapport with Netflix, and Netflix removed it, but now HBO had it and was going to play it, and he didn't want that. So he said, "I'm gonna need y'all to don't watch it, so that they don't benefit from it, because when you watch it, they benefit from it." So if we took something similar out of his page to where we're affecting their money, then you're saying things would be different?
Okay. Going back to Chappelle. When he said to boycott his show, right? Who did it affect?
Right. It affected the HBO. It affected them because they're losing out on money because no one is watching. They're not getting endorsed. Right. So that's what I'm saying. If we, So I'm trying to understand where you're coming from, and I'm trying to help them understand, right? So what you're saying is, if we were to boycott in a more effective way, differently, where we are affecting the income, because the income you feel is the basis, the economy is the basis of everything. If we had more of a impact in that, then maybe we would be heard more.
That too, heard more, and also things would change. For example, we can go back to in Alabama with Rosa Parks, when they boycotted the buses. That was very pivotal. Like, I feel like history minimized that. They crippled that economy. So it wasn't like, we like you niggas now, we can get on the bus. No, you fucked up our money. Now you get on the bus the way you want to. Right? So same thing with Chappelle. He said, boycott me. So now HBO don't get money, no one gets money, then now they have to pay me for you to start watching again. That was genius. So the same thing, like, it comes to us. If we want our reparations, if we want this, which is we're Americans, we should get that. It's entitled to us. We have to stop boycotting these people. I feel like we should boycott them with our elections, with our time, with our media.
So isn't that what they did on, what was it, Blackout Day?
That's one day.
Right, but I'm saying that was a start, right? We need for somebody to tell it to us right. We don't. You know what the problem is? We don't have what they had back then. They had Malcolm X, they had Martin Luther. We don't have that. We don't have someone guiding us and trying to enlighten us on. I mean, we don't have that. We don't have Black Panthers. We don't have that now. There's a bunch of people talking, but nobody really doing. Nobody's stepping up.
I totally agree with that. But I agree with that exactly. That no, they're talking, not doing nothing. You're spot on with that. But I also feel like, I don't know if we really need a leader. These people have already came and left us with something. You know, because your teacher's not going to be there forever.
Right.
So we've had master teachers walk among us to teach us how to do this. So it's all been written. It's all been documented. We got to follow the script. And I just believe that a lot of times our own personal motifs outweigh the greater good. You know, so it's like, well, I want this, I want that, I want to get this. Of course, we want the finer things in life. But sometimes we got to say, you know what? We can't do that for the greater good, because at the end of the day, we're getting older. We're not going to be here forever. It's about the younger generation. So with us boycotting or maybe not supporting someone, it'll benefit them because they'll respect their dollar. And it's not just a white and black thing. Even when you go to these Asian places, right? Hair stores, they don't respect us. They don't respect, you know what I'm saying? They'll take your dollar. They don't respect you. But yet you keep going in there, you keep buying because you want the hair, or you want even men care products. You want your bed product, your hair product, whatever the case, and they don't even respect your dollar. And then our children see that. And they say, you know, it don't matter if they respect our dollar or not. We can still spend money with them. But yet and still, they don't spend their money with us. So we're hurting economically. So to make a long story short, I believe if we set the example that was set forth from us to those who have already passed on, listen, we'll be good.
You know, I think that I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. I unfortunately, because of what you just said, I'm going to piggyback off of it in regards to that people are more self-absorbed, right? And worried about them, and not us. And because of that, I think that we might need that leader. We might need that leader to awaken some of us to see, like you said, the greater good and not just this small bubble, the bigger bubble. Like I've had this conversation with people about the projects. The name itself tells you what it is. It was a project, right? It was a project to help people who were, financially not stable, to help them start growing from it, right? It was a stepping stone in their life. It wasn't meant to stay there forever. And granted, I'm not knocking nobody who's lived in the projects for years, right? I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but that's what it was started as. It was started as something to help you get from point A to point B to point C and so forth. And there's people, you go to their house, the building smell like shit, look like shit, smell like pee, and then you go into their apartment and they have all of this. The apartment don't even look nothing like the outside. And it's like, instead of, they get conditioned, right? And if you notice in a lot of the project areas, there's like a lot of stores, right? There's a lot of things that you find downtown is now in the project. And they do that because they don't want you to go outside of that bubble.
Right.
And that's the problem. And we get conditioned to that. And that's what I'm saying. I think sometimes, and I think for now, especially with the younger generation, they need someone who's going to say, let's look beyond this bubble. Let's look beyond Soundview projects. Let's go downtown. Let's go to Chinatown. Let's go here. Let's go there. Like, let's see what else is beyond this. Because if you ever go to the Gap on 125th Street and the Gap down on 34th Street, it is two totally different stores. You'll be like, oh, they're like, I have this store that I go to. I'm not going to name the store, but they have one in Co-op City, and that store don't have nothing. But when I go to New Rochelle, they got everything. And I'm like, why don't they have this at the store? I'm confused. But that's the problem. We are, like you said, we just self-contained. And the way that the world treats us, they self-contain us. And then we get stuck, and we don't never open our minds to look beyond it. I think that for some people, not all, but for some people, they do need that righteous leader, that person that's going to open their mind to say, we need to make a change. We need to do this. We need to boycott this way, not that way, right? We need that person. Are we going to get it? I don't foresee it.
I could see that point where we need that person. I just feel like we're in a place where if that person were to come, right, I believe like all the other ones, they'll be scrutinized. And they're never appreciated till they're gone. Briefly, even with Malcolm X. A lot of people didn't like Malcolm X. Black people, when he was walking, they didn't like Malcolm. There were black people who felt as if he was messing up what they've attained, or they thought they've attained.
Right.
Like, he was a rabble rouser to them. It wasn't until there were some blacks who like, it wasn't until he passed, it was like, wow, man, you know, we understood what he was talking about. The ballot and the bullet. We understood what he was talking about. Well, you're not just giving up your vote and things like that. They understood that. They understood he was talking about us having human rights. Even with Dr. King. A lot of people didn't like Dr. King when he was here. They did not.
Right.
That's why I always say, that's why they're dead. People didn't like them. You know what I'm saying? They didn't like these men. So I feel like even now, the leader may be here, but there's going to be so much apprehension to what they're saying and doing at this time. They're going to end up dead, and people won't appreciate about what they're doing until later, and then they're not going to follow what they were saying. Just like now. We could talk about Dr. King and Malcolm X all day, every day. But black people still got on a long-ass line to vote for someone who told them, I'm not doing shit for you.
Yeah, he had promised my school, I owe $90,000, and he said he was taking that away. And now he's saying he is not.
He's not. He is not. He doesn't give a fuck if.
Like, there's no way I'm paying $90,000. I could live until I'm 90 and still ain't gonna pay $90,000 off.
Right.
I just don't know how it's happening.
But if we had reparations, we wouldn't need to worry about that. We wouldn't need to. You see? That wouldn't be our problem. You see? Because let's say reparations may not be cash. Reparations might be, well, listen, you go to school as long as you want. You're right up to whatever your doctorate, and it's paid for. You know what I'm saying? So I believe if we had a head start, we've basically been put in a rat race with people who already had a 300-year head start.
I mean, but that was the whole basis of the start of this conversation.
Right.
Right? And it was when people are saying that, you know, they were pigeonholed, they weren't allowed to do this, they were held back. Is that okay for them to use as an excuse? Is that all right? Can they constantly throw that up in the air? Is that always the basis of every conversation that they have?
Right. Well, like I said, I believe to a degree you can and to a degree you can't, because there's things that you can control. Like, you can go out when the economy's in decent standing and get a job. You can do that. Now, can you work and then get a house? Maybe. But will you really gain wealth working for someone? Probably not. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like, not that all people in America that aren't black have these access to opportunity, but outside of the Native American and Anglo-Saxon Protestant white person, black people been here the same amount of time.
Right.
And actually, historically, we might have been here even longer.
And right now,
So-
Native Americans, they still have areas of land where no one can access but them,
Right.
the Native Americans. They have college scholarships. They have a lot of accessible programs for them that, like you said, we don't have land. We don't have land. We don't have anything to say like this is ours and we can move forth with this and build off of it. Even if it was a corner, we don't have that.
We don't have it. But yet and still, we spend our money in places that we don't own every day. We don't have not a piece of ownership of it. And I believe that when you live in a corporation and an economy and you're nowhere in the standing of wealth, you're always going to have these problems of police brutality. You're going to have these problems of the standard of schooling. You're going to have, because you're basically relying on another group of people who look nothing like you to take care of you.
Right.
When we have built this country and we should have that type of, those type of resources to create our own economy. We should, because like I said, outside of blacks, the only people been here is the Native American and Anglo-Saxon Protestant white person. And not to say Native Americans have been screwed too, but these whites who could track their family back up to New England, 16 something, 15 something, they've been started off with enough to continue this thing going. They're the ones who own these corporations, these businesses. They're able to go get loans where there was times when we couldn't get loan because of red tape, So what I'm saying is we have started here unequally. And I think reparations is the first step to get us on track. And I believe that these people these young people should use that. Not as a crutch, but they should say, listen, give me what's mine. And also, too, this may be a topic for another day, but I don't see why we only get 1 month of Black history. Black history is American history. That's American history. It is. It just is. It's American history, whether y'all like it or not.
I mean, I don't think that it's just like, oh, you're only supposed to celebrate it that month. I think you celebrate it how you choose to. But I think it's a month that they glorify it. They talk about it more. It's imposed on, it's like a mandatory thing that you do that month. In schools and stuff like that. You celebrate the history of blacks. So, I mean, I don't think that it's just like, oh, it's just this month and that's it. You don't talk about it all the time. I just think that, this month is the month that they talk about it. Do I like the fact that it's the shortest month? No.
But why don't they have White History Month? See, because white history, according to them, is American history. So I get what you're saying. Like, I'm not against, because when Carter G. Woodson started it, or, put his bid in to do it, I get it. I get it. I'm not against it. But I feel like they always isolate us as if we just got here. We've been here. When you see the landscape of Washington, D.C., Benjamin Banneker, a black man, right? With anything you see in America, the first black man to die, March 5th, 1770, the American Revolution, Crispus Attucks, a black man. Okay? Black women have helped raise this economy. So what I'm saying is that's American history. That's American history. So if there's going to be a Black History Month, there should be a White History Month. And we should be, so they can get their month, we can get our month, and then all year we should talk about all of the great accomplishments our people have contributed to this so-called great corporation.
Well, I wish that we all thought that way. But before we end this, I want to say that you guys have access to apps. There's a whole bunch of access in your hands on your phone. And you can take the time to, I'm not telling you where to shop, not to shop. I'm telling you, take the time out to look for those black-owned businesses and give back to your community.
Please do.
Right? Just takes an extra 5 minutes. If you type in black-owned businesses, it'll come up. Uber Eats, black-owned businesses. It comes up and tells you what's in your neighborhood that, black people own and they're serving food. Why not? You love McDonald's, great. I'm not telling you not to go there, but maybe don't go Monday and Tuesday. Go Monday, and then on Tuesday we doing it up black, right? Just an idea. I want to thank you guys again, and I hope, as always, these conversations spark something in you. Please like, comment, share, subscribe so you can get the notifications. And we thank you again. And with that, Red Cup Chronicles.